My parents were the most ordinary couple you could ever hope to meet. My mom liked to attend book clubs and often busied herself with her baking. Dad wore a suit to work and had a habit of checking his watch a dozen times throughout breakfast. They weren't at all interested in anything one might consider extraordinary. Humanity could have made contact with an alien civilization, and they wouldn't so much as look up from their coffee mugs. Whenever I needed help with my homework, I could count on my dad's help. If I fell and tore a hole in the knee of my pants, I could count on my mom to sew them right up. When I suspected that a boy lived under the sink, well, I was on my own. The first time his muffled voice chimed up through the pipes, it didn't say much of anything. It was mostly restricted to quiet moans and grunts exacerbated by the acoustics down there. For a time, I roamed the house in an effort to locate the source. It was an adventure for me back then. Nothing frightening, just a mystery that needed solving. My investigation ended in the kitchen. I successfully scaled the looming countertop and pushed aside a set of semi-dry plates for a better view into the plug hole at the center of the sink. It was dark. Too dark. As if a jet black veil covered the entrance that no light could penetrate. Suddenly, the mystery didn't seem all that harmless to me anymore. Just as I turned to hop back down to the floor, I thought I heard the voice calling my name. I paused and cocked my ear. It came once again. Kieran. Nope. I slid to the safety of the cool kitchen tiles and fled the room, screaming about the boy under the sink and outright refusing to go anywhere near it. My reward was a slap on the wrist and a lengthy berating about telling lies. One day soon after, my mom refused to fetch me a cup of juice. I clenched my teeth and held my tongue. If I protested, she'd grow suspicious. They mustn't find out that I still believed there was a boy beneath the sink. Holding my breath, I pushed open the kitchen door and rushed to the refrigerator, bare feet slapping against the checkered floor. Kieran, please help me. I kept my eyes fixed on the task at hand, shakily pouring the orange carton whilst refusing to acknowledge the disembodied voice. It began to sob. Kieran, please. No one else can hear me. I'm going to be stuck down here forever if you don't help. I don't want to die down here. I just want to go home. I maintained the facade, slotted the now considerably lighter carton back into the refrigerator, and turned to carry out my filled cup. You aren't crazy, you know. I paused. There's a reason you're the only one who can hear me. Why? I said, unable to stop myself. Because you're special, like me. What does that mean? Well, like I said, you can hear me. That makes you special. As for me, how many other boys have you met that live under a sink? I giggled despite myself. I would very much like to get out, though. It's scary down here. What's it like? I asked, inching closer. I was tall enough now that I could see into the sink if I stood on my tiptoes. Well, for starters, it's dark. I can't see anything aside from a small circle of white above me. I pondered for a moment, wondering what the circle could be. Can you see this? I held my hand over the plug hole. Yes. Is that what you look like? You look a little strange, if you don't mind me saying. No, silly, I laughed. That's just my hand. Oh, I'm sorry. That's embarrassing. Haven't you ever seen a person before? I asked, withdrawing my hand. I see a woman and a man from time to time. I get covered in water and bits of food whenever they show up. It's thanks to them that I can survive down here, actually. How long have you been stuck in there? The voice took a moment to respond. You know what? I have no idea. Mom called from the living room, demanding to know what was taking so long. I'm sorry, I have to go now. What's your name? I don't have one. My fear of the voice all but evaporated. From that day on, I spent as much time as I could get away with perched next to the sink, legs dangling against the cupboards. I told the voice all kinds of things. What happened at school each day, people I liked and disliked, the childish dreams I aspired to, anything and everything that came to mind. I knew I could tell the voice in confidence. Eventually, I got sick of referring to the voice as the voice and decided to name him. Crampy, I said, dropping a buttered cracker down the hole. How's that? Sure. What does it mean, though? I shrugged. Well, you're always complaining about how cramped you are, so I thought Crampy sounded good. The voice stayed quiet and I got worried. You don't like it, do you? I'm sorry. I'll try to think of something else. No, Crampy. Okay. My new name is Crampy. Hey, Kieran and Crampy has a good ring to it, don't you think? I smiled and nodded, then realized that Crampy couldn't see me. "Yeah," I squeaked. Crampy started asking me for favors not long after that. "Because that's what friends do," he'd say if I ever questioned his requests. Sometimes he asked for water. That one was simple enough. I just had to lean over and turn on the tap. Other times he'd want a certain food or drink. Those were a little trickier. I couldn't let Mom and Dad think I was throwing out perfectly good food. One day I was holding my favorite toy out over the plug hole to show Crampy. A small plastic action figure with movable limbs. "Can I have that?" I clutched it to my chest and pouted. "But this is my favorite one." "Kieran, we're friends, aren't we?" "Yes." "Friends share. Give me the toy." His voice took on a stern quality I'd only ever heard from grown-ups before. I got the same sense that refusing this request would lead to some kind of consequence, so not wanting to upset Crampy, I held out my cherished figurine and dropped it, before leaving the room whilst fighting back tears. The missing toy didn't go unnoticed. Dad exploded when I confessed to what I'd done after a relentless barrage of questioning, spit flying in all directions as he seethed to my mom about how fucked up I was. Their temporary solution was to ban me from the kitchen, and honestly, I wasn't all that upset about it. I wasn't so sure I wanted to be friends with Crampy anymore. Mom taped a hastily scribbled sign to the kitchen door to serve as a constant reminder that I wasn't to enter. But as days turned to weeks and weeks turned to months, I started feeling lonely again. My parents were poor company at the best of times, and now more than ever, I could really use a friend. I was still sad about losing my toy, but then I reasoned that Crampy had probably never played with one in his whole life. It was mean of me not to share when I had an entire box full of them just sitting in my bedroom. I decided I wanted to apologize and hatched a plan to sneak downstairs once Mom and Dad retired to their room for the night. I winced at every creak of the old staircase and held the kitchen door handle so the latch wouldn't spring back too loudly when it clicked shut. "Crampy, are you awake?" "Where have you been?" He didn't sound happy. "Mom and Dad haven't been letting me in here. I'm sorry for leaving you all alone," he finished. "Why did you tell them about the toy? I thought you could keep a secret." "I can, it's just..." "You're scared of your parents, aren't you, Kieran?" I nodded, forgetting once again that Crampy couldn't see me. To my surprise, he responded, "I thought so, but you know something? I think you need to be more concerned about how I feel. You really upset me, Kieran. We're supposed to be friends and you abandoned me. But there is something you could do to make it up to me." "What is it? I'll do anything you want. I just want to go back to how things were." There was a shuffle followed by a wet slithering sound. Then, illuminated by the moonlight, filtering in from the window above, a hand appeared. It rose from the plug hole, a dirty, wet, and scrawny little thing, and kept on rising until the rest of the arm was visible. "Help me, Kieran. That's how you can make it up to me. By finally helping me out of here." I hesitated. The sight of the arm sticking out of the sink unsettled me for reasons I couldn't understand back then. Perhaps it was the impossible nature of what I was seeing and my partway developed brain failing to make sense of it. Either way, I couldn't refuse. "Okay," I said, mostly to myself. I clambered up onto the marble countertop before looking down at the disgusting hand. It was mottled with thick patches of yellow crust and something foul oozed from his cracked skin. I pitied Crampy all the more. "What's taking so long? Grab my hand." I counted down from 5 and pressed my hand into his with a squelch, squatting into a position I could better lift him from. The logistics didn't make much sense. I couldn't see how a person, no matter how frail, could possibly squeeze through the comparatively tiny hole. Regardless, I grit my teeth and pulled with all my might, feet slipping in the wet basin. It was then Crampy laughed, not a joyful laugh, but a nasty, mocking one instead. "You know what? I just had an even better idea. Since it seems I can't get out, you should join me down here instead." I protested and tried to yank my hand free from Crampy's grip, but he was far too strong. "Come on," he said, arm retracting slowly into the sink. "You'll get to play with your favorite toy again. We can even play with it together. Every day will be so much fun, and you'll never have to deal with those miserable parents of yours ever again." "Please," I pleaded as my hand inched closer to the plug hole. "I won't fit! I won't fit!" "Oh, that's what you're worried about? Don't worry, I'll make sure you do. There was a sound like a switch being flicked, followed by a loud whirring from inside the sink. I begged and yelled and screamed for Crampy to let me go, but it was no use. My fingers hit something sharp and hard, and then I couldn't feel them anymore. Crampy was saying something, but I couldn't hear him over the storm of bone and flesh rending beneath me. When there was nothing left for Crampy to hold on to, I was able to slide what remained of my arm free. In a daze, I fell back and cradled the mangled, bloody stump against my body. Dad was the first to burst into the room, screaming for my mom to call an ambulance as he wrapped a towel around the mess of gore. He was a scary man when he got mad, but the panic face he wore now was somehow much scarier. The last thing I saw before consciousness slipped away from me was a fiery red eye staring up at me from the sink, crinkled in an angry expression. A bony finger poked up through the hole and beckoned me to come back before the world turned black. I'm 17 years old now. I spend most days working to earn a little extra cash. The original goal was to scrape up enough money to escape this nightmare from Crampy. Of course, that's easier said than done. There aren't too many places that choose to hire a kid with one arm over someone still in possession of all their limbs. A few years back, my mom gave birth to a baby girl. I didn't care much for Charlotte at first. It felt as though an invisible barrier separated me from the rest of the family after everything that happened. So I didn't bond with her like I probably should have. But now, for her sake, I'm thinking I should stay put. She started talking about the voice coming from under the sink.
911, what is your emergency?
I need an ambulance immediately.
Sir, you sound a little groggy or confused. Can you tell me exactly what is wrong?
I just woke up, and my bed is soaked in blood. I feel really weak.
Okay, sir, I need you to stay with me. Are you in any pain?
Yes, and it is only in one spot.
Okay, sir, remain calm for me. Where are you hurting?
Oh my God! Ah!
Sir, calm down. What is wrong?
The blood and pain. It's in my crotch. My penis is missing. Ah!
Sir, look around you. Where are you? Can you describe your surroundings?
Yes, I'm in my bedroom. There's a small metal tray sitting on the nightstand. It has what looks like a curved needle, thread, some sort of spray disinfectant, and a scalpel.
Okay, sir, let me confirm your address, and I'll send police and rescue. Do not try to move, or you may further hurt yourself, okay?
Yes, ma'am. I live at... My bedroom's on the second floor. Please, hurry. I feel... woozy.
Sir? Sir, are you still with me? Yes, ma'am. Hi, my name is Alice. I am the wife of the man that called you. He is currently unable to answer right now, as it looks like the sedative I gave him finally started working again. What do you mean? Miss, can you tell me what exactly is going on here? My husband and I share our house with a female friend of ours. I work nights at the hospital in the operating room. I am a surgeon there and tend to work a lot of hours away from my husband. Yes, ma'am, but why is your husband lying in a pool of his own blood, missing his manhood? Oh, that... You see, I have had a sneaky suspicion for over a month now that my dear husband was cheating on me with that tramp of a roommate. I tried setting him down on 3 separate occasions to voice my suspicions, but he always assured me nothing was wrong. Tell me, dear, have you ever had your woman's intuition tell you something, and you knew for an absolute fact it was true? Yes, but... Exactly. So you understand I had to make sure I was right? 2 weeks ago, I had security cameras installed without him noticing, and within a couple of days, I had all the proof I needed. You mean? Yes, ma'am. He would wait until about an hour after I left for work and would pull her into our bedroom. He defiled our marriage and was kissing her all night while I was gone. She would always sneak out of the room about an hour before I was due home and be back in her room when I got there. Ma'am, I am so sorry he did that to you. I did not just cut it off. I made sure that I did it with the most delicate of surgical precision. I administered a strong sedative to him after he laid down in bed, and once he was out cold, I went to work. I saved it, though. I kept it in a cooler of ice, just in case he woke up and called for help. Wow, I have no words for this. I loved my husband and cooked meals for him that I knew absolutely nothing about, but did so because I loved him every day. I wanted to spend the rest of my life with him and have kids with him, but he ruined it all. What about the other woman? She lives there too, right? Oh, do not worry about her. I made sure she did not wake up during the surgery. See, I made sure my plans for her were done about a week ago. My husband thought she was on a trip, and he never thought once to look in her room for her. After all, why would he? Especially after he read the letter that I wrote in her handwriting. Can you tell me if your husband is still conscious, ma'am? Oh, yes, but with the sedative I gave him, he will probably sleep like a baby until your ambulances and police arrive. The surgery on him went well, though. I consider it some of my best work, especially given all the fine nerve endings and the high concentration of blood vessels. Are you okay, ma'am? Dear, I have never felt better. I was mad at first. He was my high school sweetheart. We went to the same college together, and as soon as we both had graduated, he proposed. I loved that man more than life itself. That's what made his betrayal of our love so painful. I see. My mother used to tell me when I was a kid to always listen to my intuition, since a woman's intuition is never wrong. Girl, she was right. I still cannot believe that he would turn his back on our love. I understand your pain, but why not just divorce him? Men nowadays never seem to be held to the same standards that we are as women. A woman cheats on her husband and she is branded a whore. A man cheats and it's just treated like business as usual. It is not fair. I understand that, but castration? Yes. You see, so many times men get away with stuff like this, and we are expected as women to keep putting up with it over and over like a punching bag. I had to make sure that he learned the hard way that it does not pay to go through life thinking with his penis and not his head. So I eliminated it from the equation. I see. Don't patronize me like that. Have you ever had a man cheat on you? Yes, ma'am, but that is not important here. Well, I hear the boys in blue coming up the driveway now. Let me go wash my hands and greet them at the door. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful night. Ma'am? Ma'am?
The caller was rushed to the hospital nearby, and the doctors and surgeons were able to reattach his severed appendages. His wife willingly surrendered herself to the police. It was noted in the police reports and in her statement that the wife was very cold in her demeanor, almost emotionless. The only time she showed anything was when she discussed the surgery and her pride in her handiwork. The roommate was not found in the home, and as of now, police are unsure of her current status. The lesson to be learned from this? Men, treat your wife well and never cheat, or else your woman may exact her own pound of flesh in revenge. Snip, snip. To whomever is reading this, congratulations on being accepted into Redwood College and joining the class of 2027. However, you are an absolute idiot for deciding to live on campus. Redwood only offers students housing for sophomores and up, which means you were successfully led into the trap. You're going to have to stay here for one semester before you can be saved. I wrote these rules to help you stay safe until it's over. For the love of God, please take the time to read them carefully. I cannot stress this enough. Warning message, all rules should have a period after the number. If it has a colon, don't listen to it. When getting set up, don't hang up any posters that have faces on them, including artwork. Your space is on the left side of the room. Make sure at all times none of your stuff is on the right side as it belongs to your roommate. 3. Make sure to throw your trash in the little can in the right corner of the room. 4. Your roommate is Lisa. Try to be somewhat on good terms with her. She was once in your position but failed to make it through the semester. 5. Lisa likes to drink a lot. If she comes back to the dorm sober but smelling like alcohol, just say hey and continue what you were doing. If she comes back to the dorm drunk, do not interact with her whatsoever. 6. If Lisa is drunk and tells you her head hurts, get her a bottle of water. 7. Your dorm room does have a bathroom, but it is only for getting ready and using the toilet. Never shower in there. You use the shower in the common restroom. 8. Never be the last one to take a shower. Everyone finishes by around 1 a.m. If you are perhaps too focused studying and forgot to take one by 1 a.m., just forget about and take one first thing in the morning. 9. Your dorm room has blue walls. If you walk into the room and the walls are a different color, exit the room. After 45 minutes, you can open the door and you will be in your actual room. 10. Get at least a 2-hour nap every day. 11. Your dorm room is only intended for sleeping and studying. Any leisure activities should be done in the common room. 12. When you visit the common room, make sure there is at least 2 other people there, preferably watching TV. I promise you, being alone in the common room is the worst thing that can happen. 13. If you do find yourself alone in the commons, just watch TV for a bit. 14. Sometimes Lisa will call you and ask if you want to go to a frat party with her. I highly suggest saying no. Here's the procedure to follow. Tell Lisa this exact sentence. I have a chem final coming up, so I want to study. Then hang up. After that, head to your desk and get on your laptop and a textbook, then start studying. In about 10 minutes, Lisa will come to the dorm to check on you. Pretend you do not see her. After she leaves, you are safe and free to do whatever. 14A. If you decided you want to go to the party, refer to Rule 17. 15. Try to form good friendships with the frat bros. They're nice guys. 16. After a study session, make sure to clean up any mess you made. 17. When going to any parties, do not stay for more than an hour. They will convince you to do some weird stuff. 18. If you hear knocking at your dorm at night, it's probably Lisa. Answer the door. 19. If you hear crying and it sounds like it's coming from the room next to you, whisper, "Don't worry, you'll do okay on your exam." 20. The fall semester ends on December 9th. Here's the procedure to follow to prepare for your escape. A. Start packing up all of your clothes. Don't worry about furniture and other materials, those will be handled with. B. Write a letter to Lisa explaining that you are planning to move out and are deciding to live in an apartment close to campus. This letter should be at least 3 paragraphs. Make sure to include how you will miss Lisa and how she was a good roommate. Do not say anything she could possibly perceive as negative. C. When it becomes sunset, Lisa will return to the dorm. Take the letter and hand it to her. Do not exit the building without giving her the letter. D. Once she reads the letter, say goodbye and take your suitcase with you, then leave the room. While exiting the building, do not talk to anyone. A car resembling your mother's will be waiting for you outside. I know these may seem like a lot, but just try your best to remember everything. As for where you will live from now on, you're on your own with that. Rule 21. Lisa will ask if she can still keep in touch with you. Say yes. I've lived in the same small town my entire life. The population hasn't risen in probably 5 years, and we only have one school, a few spotlights and churches, and the majority of people live in the rurals. I didn't realize how remote everything was until I became a 911 dispatcher. The office for our county emergency center was actually in the back part of a cozy coffee cafe. I didn't even have to apply for the job. My mom was a dispatcher before me, and since there isn't exactly a line of people trying to do this, I was picked without even an interview. We have one ambulance that handles the entire area, and to be honest, until the incident, I didn't think that was an issue. Our 2 paramedics, Parker and Thomas, were in the front drinking their morning coffee and relieving the night crew as I walked in. I could tell from the night crew's sleepy expressions that not much had occurred during the last 12 hours. I grabbed breakfast and checked the weather outside. It was a little drizzly, and I knew we might get a few calls about animals getting out of their pens or trees falling on power lines. The call that started things rolling came right after I took a restroom break. 911, what is your emergency? I asked the caller. There was heavy breathing on the other side of the line. Our equipment in this small county is old, so I couldn't just check to see where the call originated. I had no idea what to expect, but the silence and strangeness immediately put me on edge. Someone is trying to get inside my house. I think they're trying to kill me, the voice said. It sounded like a woman. I asked for her age and name as I snapped for Parker and Thomas to wake up from their nap. That doesn't matter right now, does it? Just send help. I got the address and asked them if we should send police or an ambulance. The woman sounded injured, so Parker and Thomas left. I told her I would stay on the line with her, but she mysteriously hung up. Much like I didn't have GPS to trace the call, our system also prevented me from bypassing when a person blocked their number, and for some reason this caller had done that. Thankfully, I was able to use the address and Google it. I called them back, getting a man. Hello? He sounded tired. Sir, this is 911. I believe we just got disconnected. What? No one called 911. We were asleep. I double-checked and told them the address we had been given. He confirmed he'd lived there for nearly 4 months. I used the walkie-talkie to get in touch with Parker and Thomas. I apologized as I got off the phone with the homeowner, a bit confused as I tried to figure out why the first caller had given a bad number. We're gonna check houses in the area and make sure everything is okay, Parker told me. But I couldn't help feel this was going to get worse, and it did. Another call came in an hour later, the same heavy breathing. This time it sounded like an old man. I fell down the stairs. I need help. Please hurry, he said in a ragged voice. Like before, I got the address and told my paramedics to hurry to his location. I told them to stay on the line, and this time I heard another voice in the background. Is someone else there? I asked. Somewhere else, the voice parroted back. I was surprised how much it sounded like my own voice. Then the line went dead. A feeling of dread overwhelmed me as I waited to hear from Parker and Thomas. Somehow I knew that when they got there, they were going to report it was a false alarm. Someone is pulling our leg and wasting our resources, Thomas said over the walkie-talkie. What do we do? I asked. Then we got another call. This time it was normal. A woman saying she saw someone just get shot. I got the address and looked at the county map. That's almost the exact opposite direction of where you're at now, I said in confusion. They hung up and drove there immediately. Another call came in, the same heavy breathing. I was beginning to realize that whoever was on the other end of the line had a sick mind. I need help, they said in a soft voice. It was a gimmick. They were pretending to sound like a voice. What is your emergency? I asked, trying to remain calm as I looked at the map. Already someone had been killed. Were they deliberately trying to misdirect 911 every time they called? They gave me an address and promised they would stay on the line, but I had to put them on hold because I got another call. This time in the opposite direction of the first call. Someone reported that they saw a car drive by and dump a large trash bag, large enough to hold a body in. A sick pattern was emerging, so I quickly jumped back to the first call and asked them to repeat their address. I couldn't let them know that I was aware of the strange game they were playing. Once they confirmed the location, I looked at the map and found the farthest location in the opposite direction of the one they'd given me. Someone is on the way, I promised. I got on the walkie-talkie and gave Parker and Thomas the new address, the one that I was sure the mysterious caller was actually at. I also decided to stay on the line and tell them what was going on. In our county? That is so weird, Parker agreed after I spoke the whole story. Police will be there too. Hopefully we catch this guy, I said anxiously. I waited for another 10 minutes for them to reach the location. Hey, this is an empty fishing dock, Thomas said over the radio. Confirming, no vehicles nearby. Nothing nearby, really, Deputy Waltz said. That makes no sense. Why would they change tactics now? I asked. I got my answer, but not the way I anticipated. I heard the crash of glass and shattering of screams from the front of the building. I jumped and dropped my headset and ducked for cover. Outside in the cafe, someone has driven their car directly into the window, killing at least 4 customers and injuring more. I crawled to the headset and demanded all of them hurry to the dispatch building. I looked toward the burning vehicle, trying to see who was behind this reckless violence. This final savage act had ended their life, I realized, as I saw their bodies slumped over the wheel, their head bashed into the glass. I ran to get a fire extinguisher and shouted for the survivors to evacuate. Everyone was standing in the rain watching the cafe burn when Parker and the others arrived. The next day, the medical examiner identified the attacker. That name. It sounds like one of the older dispatchers, back before there were budget cuts, Deputy Herschel told us. Later, they found notes at the person's home, detailing their attack and how they took advantage of our small-town 911 system to plan their attack. All because of being jaded by the local government. It's given me a lot of sleepless nights to think of how they manipulated me and the others. I'm thankful it's over now, and a vote is coming soon to determine how we can refine our emergency system. I plan to speak about this experience and beg legislators to adjust our laws and keep this from ever happening again. I still feel shaky when I answer calls, worried another madman is out there. It only takes a spark for rage to become an inferno. Amy Nichols was a powerful woman. She was 45 and a single business owner with a keen eye for maximizing profits, But one thing was missing in her life. Amy was lonely, and not for the love of a man. Because of her persistent perfectionism, no man was able to live up to her lofty standards. Amy even thought she would never have children naturally since she had worked so hard to maintain her appearance. This never bothered her because she knew she did not need a man to be a successful mother. Amy began contacting the local orphanage and scheduled multiple appointments to look for a child to call her own. After several walkthroughs, one child in particular stood out to her. He was 10 years old, named Caden, whose parents had died in a house fire when he was 5. He had sandy blonde hair and piercing blue eyes and was a very talented artist for such a young child. The workers at the orphanage all said he was intensely quiet, and it was clear to Amy that Caden was the perfect child for her. She filled out all the appropriate paperwork and paid the extensive fees required for the adoption. Caden packed his little belongings, and for the first time since coming to the orphanage, he smiled. From the moment he stepped into his new home, Caden was given the best clothes, toys, and expensive art supplies money could buy. The two of them bonded immediately, and Amy even started taking Caden to work with her. One thing that Amy confided in her new son was that she was always worried about her looks, being a woman of a certain age. She was always looking to make sure that wrinkles had not set in or that her jawline was not sagging, and Caden was often the mirror to her, telling her that he did not see any of those concerns. After 6 months together, the mother and son pair were inseparable. But it was also around this time Amy began noticing that the crow's feet around her eyes were more pronounced and her neck started to jiggle. She thought her lips were beginning to thin. There was only one option to fix these unsettling developments: plastic surgery. She had one of her best friends, Maxine, watch Caden as she met with a local surgeon to plan out her procedures. Ultimately, Amy decided to have a minor facelift for her wrinkles and neck, some injectable fillers to erase the crow's feet and make her lips larger, and lastly, a nose job. The doctor admitted he preferred doing the procedures in separate visits, but Amy ensured she got all of her procedures done on the same day with a little financial persuasion. A few days later, Maxine was babysitting Caden as Amy went in for her procedures. Maxine noticed Caden was withdrawn and his drawings were different, darker. When she asked about his sudden mood change, Caden said he loved his mother, but he did not like how obsessed she had become with her looks. His old mommy and daddy were so obsessed with their looks that they dyed his hair all the time to keep it blonde and made him exercise just to stay skinny. He looked Maxine in the eyes and said that was why they burned to death in the fire. Maxine was slightly frightened by Caden's implications. Had he killed his original parents because they were so vain? Meanwhile, Amy was across town going under anesthesia so the doctor could perform her procedures. Every cut from his scalpel helped Amy regain the beauty to which she desperately clung. After hours of cutting, pulling, stitching, and injecting, Amy was taken to a recovery room and was eventually released to go home. When Amy walked into the house, Maxine ran to her before she could see Caden. Maxine warned Amy about her conversation with Caden and how he had practically admitted to killing his parents because they were obsessed with beauty. Amy scoffed at the remarks, knowing that Caden was her perfect little. At that moment, Caden came around the corner from his bedroom and saw Amy standing there. She asked for a hug, but he recoiled in absolute fear, running and screaming to his bedroom, locking the door behind him. Amy tried to talk to him, but he refused, calling her a monster just like his other mommy. When he finally came out of his room, Caden just stared at her with soulless eyes full of hatred. Her little angel had become her little devil. After Caden went to bed, Amy took her pain medications and a sedative to help her rest. She settled into bed and within minutes was sound asleep. Her dreams were riddled with images of her sweet little Caden twisted into a vicious, sadistic creature. She snapped awake only to find herself bound to her bed, the noxious smell of gasoline permeating the room. Caden stood in the moonlight and he began to tell her about his old mommy and daddy and how they always burned his scalp with bleach and the numerous times his daddy made him run laps because he ate a pack of gummy bears at school. Caden told her he was tired of this world's morbid fascination with looks and that just like his mommy and daddy, Amy and the rest of the world needed to burn for their actions. Before she could react, Caden lit a match and tossed it across the room, running to the front yard to watch his work unfold. Amy struggled in her restraints and realized that Caden had not tied the ropes that well. Frantically, she twisted and contorted her hands until one was free and rushed to untie the remaining ropes as the fire quickly engulfed the room. Amy crawled out of the room and rushed to the back door, knowing that Caden was potentially waiting to kill her if she were to escape through the front. She quietly ran to the house behind hers and banged on the front door. Her neighbors let her in and she called the cops. When they arrived at the house with the fire department close behind, the beautiful home was a raging inferno, and Caden was still out front watching with a gleeful smile on his face. The neighbors walked Amy over, and as she was telling them what happened, she looked over to see Caden being lowered into the police car. The most chilling memory she had of that night was the look of unfettered rage in his eyes. In that instant, she knew she never wanted a child again. We once again want to thank you for flying with Meckwell Airlines. To ensure your safety on this flight, please read the entirety of the safety brochure before takeoff. 1. In case we need to make an emergency landing, you will find a life jacket under your seat. If your life jacket is red, report to the cockpit immediately. The captain may be able to help you. He can't save everyone, though. 2. When the flight attendants come down the aisle selling food and drink, only drink the water. We can't guarantee the other drinks are as they seem. Do not drink anything you brought with you either. It is likely contaminated. 3. If you disobey Rule 2, you will feel tired. You can't resist falling asleep for too long. Follow the rules. 4. Do not fall asleep. The flight is only 4 hours long. Remember that. Never check the time. Trust us. Why would we lie about the duration of the flight? 5. There are no sleeping passengers on this plane. Just empty seats. Don't join them. You need to stay awake until we reach our destination. 6. You can leave the plane at any time. Just ask the captain for a parachute. Put on your life jacket and parachute and prepare to jump out of the plane. What happens next is unknown, but there are legends of those who survive the jump. 7. Have a good flight. They won't land until there is only one passenger left on the plane. You need to survive this. I came home from work on a Friday night, ready to start my normal NBA season ritual, drink 12 beers, watch the game, and crawl in bed a fat, happy drunk. All that came to a grinding halt when I came home to find our power had gone out. All of our neighbors still had power, so my roommate obviously hadn't paid our power bill. I called my roommate who had left that morning to go on vacation with his family and told him he needed to get this fixed ASAP. I wasn't planned on spending my weekend in a dark apartment with no NBA. Might as well go camping at that point, and I hate camping. An hour after I called him, my roommate called me back saying the bill had been paid and we would get power back in probably a few hours. At that point, I decided I would go to a friend's place to watch the game, and by the time I got back home, around midnight, the power would be back on. Fast forward and I'm leaving my friend's house. My phone had died an hour or so ago, so my friend called a taxi for me. I got dropped off and the taxi drove away. I looked up at the apartment building and saw all the apartments were lit up with electric light. Some burned a bright yellow, some a moody blue from the TVs. My apartment was the lone black window. There was still a chance I had power, I just didn't leave any lights on when I left for work that morning. I opened the apartment door and looked into the pitch blackness of the apartment before me. The closest light switch was about 10 feet from the front door, so I would need to feel along the walls for it in the blackness. The door thudded shut behind me as I felt my way along the walls, leaving me in near total darkness. It was much darker than I expected in the apartment. It didn't help we usually keep the blinds closed to thwart nosy neighbors. I must have missed the light switch because the first thing I felt in my hands was a door frame. It was my bedroom door. I wandered in, still hugging the wall, and my bedroom door whined aloud, creak, as I leaned up against it. I hated that door. The slightest touch would cause the door to seemingly scream. I usually had to keep it latched, otherwise it would creak every time the air conditioner turned on or off, and it scared the shit out of me every time. Eventually, I found the light switch. Flick. Nothing. No power. I kept the switch turned on so if the power returned soon, I would know immediately. I remember thinking, camping. This is pretty much camping. I hate camping. I would crawl in bed and hopefully we would have power in the morning. I wanted to brush my teeth first, so I felt along the walls and found my way into my en-suite bathroom. The bathroom seemed even darker and more oppressive than the rest of the apartment. Around the corner from any windows and having no windows itself, the bathroom was essentially a black hole. No light could escape it. My hands grasped around my cluttered bathroom counter, finding toothpaste and, after some time, my toothbrush. I stood in complete darkness, brushing my teeth, wishing for light and listening to the sounds that accompany living in a crowded apartment complex. I heard footfalls in the apartment above me. I could hear the neighbor couple next door arguing, then I heard the unmistakable creaking of my bedroom door. The first thought I had was that the power was back on. The air conditioner must have turned on and the air pressure moved the door and made it whine. Then I realized the light in my bedroom hadn't turned on. Someone in the apartment. I suddenly felt exposed in the blackness of the bathroom, like I was being watched. I thought about the stories I heard of pirates wearing eye patches to adjust their eyes to seeing in the dark to have the advantage in night combat. I hadn't heard the front door open, so if something was in here, it had been in here longer than I had and probably would have adjusted to the lack of light by now. I swallowed my toothpaste, too afraid to make noise, and I sat crouched in the pitch black of the bathroom, ears straining to pick up any sound coming from my bedroom. I remembered I had a power bank sitting in my nightstand. If I could find that, I could charge my phone, and then I would have a flashlight. After 5 or so minutes of working up my courage, I slowly crept out of the bathroom. It seemed to have gotten even darker in the apartment in the last 10 minutes, and I walked slowly and silently with my hands outstretched, probing the darkness. My hands were at chest height, groping in the direction of my bed. I found my lamp and worked down to the nightstand on which it sat. I opened the top drawer and started feeling for the brick-like power bank. Every sound I made, every accidental click of my fingernails hitting the wood of the nightstand felt like I was making myself known to a predator. I felt like I was being hunted. I felt a sitting duck. I found the power bank and the necessary cords and stood up. I didn't want to wait in my bedroom while it charged. I felt too exposed, so I planned to bring the brick and my phone into the bathroom again to wait. I stuffed the electronics in my pockets and started the process again of groping around in the blackness for the bathroom door frame when my hands brushed up against something unfamiliar. Did I get lost in my own bedroom? I reached back out with both hands. My left hand felt the right side of the bathroom door frame. I reached my right hand out to the wall to confirm, and I felt it come down on that unfamiliar thing. My fingers tangled in a mess of a fine, stringy material. I grabbed it and realized I was grabbing a full head of hair. Someone was standing in front of me. I didn't even think to scream. I bodied my way past the intruder and into the bathroom. I slammed the door shut behind me, locked it, and stood in the blackness. The head I felt was at the height of the light switches, either a small person standing or a big person crouching. Either way, it had probably sat there watching me in silence as I was fumbling around in the nightstand. My heart was pounding out of my chest and I felt like I was going to vomit. I sat in silence, pressed up against the door, listening to the other side. I could hear the neighbor still, but I couldn't hear anything in my bedroom. Then there was a knock at the door. It was a polite knock, as if checking to see if the bathroom was occupied. Then it started to get louder, heavier, more rapid. I thought whoever was on the other side would soon just punch straight through the cheap door. Then, silence. I hated how long it took iPhones to recharge. I need light now. I remembered I kept a candle and matches on top of my toilet, so I felt my way over to the other side of the bathroom and found them. I brought them back over to where I could sit, keeping my back pressed against the door. I sat for a while listening and thinking. I kept thinking about the pirates, and I didn't want to lose the progress my eyes had made adjusting to the blackness. Then I heard, from the other side of the bathroom, water dripping. Drip, drip, drip. How had that just started dripping? It sounded like it was coming from my bathtub. I was completely overcome with dread. Was something in here with me? How long had they been in here with me? Were they here when I was brushing my teeth? I felt like I was going to be sick. I had to use the candle. I lit the match and caught the wick of the candle. Drip, drip, drip. A dim yellow flame cast light in a few feet in all directions, but my bathroom was long. I still couldn't make out the far end near the toilet and bathtub. I slid the candle along the floor to the middle of the room. In the dim golden light, I could see 2 dirty feet sticking out from behind the shower curtain. I raised my eyes up and saw a face, also poking out from behind the shower curtain. It was dark, and I couldn't make out many features except the dark eyes reflecting the light of the candle and its huge smile. I don't think it was human. I was flooded with a primal fear. Me and the thing stared at each other. I felt like a chipmunk staring down a lion, each daring one another to make the first move. I slowly stood up, never taking my eye off of the disgusting face that watched me from the shower. I heard a voice from the other side of the door whisper, "What you gonna do?" Drip, drip, drip. I noticed for the first time it wasn't the bathtub dripping, but saliva from the mouth of this horrid creature in front of me. "What you gonna do?" the voice behind the door asked a little louder. I saw a hand appear from behind the shower curtain, its fingers each 5 inches long, seemingly sharp at the ends and black with decay. It started to slowly pull back the shower curtain. "What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do?" The voice outside the door was screaming now. The monster behind my shower curtain slowly moved one long, decaying leg towards me. I felt a vibration in my pocket letting me know my phone was charged. Without breaking eye contact with this monster, I reached in my pocket, turned the flashlight on, and pointed it at the thing. It opened its mouth wide, revealing rows of sharpened teeth, and screamed with what sounded like dozens of men's, women's, and children's voices. I broke for it. I ran out of the bathroom, my phone's light illuminating the room enough to see that there wasn't just the person whose hair I had touched, but several people, and they were all smiling. I ran out of the bedroom, feeling hands reaching out to me from the darkness and pulling at my shirt. I reached the door and flung myself out into the hallway and ran down the stairs and into the parking lot. I'm sitting in my car now. About 10 minutes ago, I saw my bedroom light turn on. Our power was back. I think I'm still going to wait until morning before I go back in there.
"911, what's your emergency?" On the other end of the call is a crying girl, about 10 years old.
"Please, you have to send help. He's beating my mum. She won't move. He's killing her."
"Please, calm down. What's your name?"
"Meg, please, you have to send someone. He's hitting us so hard."
"Meg, I'm asking you to go to a safe place and tell me where you are. Could you do that for me, precious?" From the other end, there is no answer, but there are screams of 2 men and the sound of the girl running down some stairs. "Hello? Are you still there?"
"Yes, he can't hear me here."
"Perfect. Tell me who is attacking your mom."
"It's my stepfather. We were eating and he got mad at my mom. He suddenly knocked over the table and started yelling at her very loudly."
"My brother gave me the phone and told me to call you." "You did very well. I need you to tell me where you live."
"Yes,
my mom made me memorize it. I'm at..." "All right, honey. Now, we're going to send some police officers to help your mom. I need you to stay hidden and keep talking to me. Tell me what happened next."
My brother gave me the phone and yelled at David, but he hit him really, really hard. My mom went to him, but he started hitting her too, and I didn't know what to do."
At this point, the girl starts crying, and the rest of the audio is unintelligible. "It's okay, honey. You were very brave to tell me everything. Stay calm. You, your mom, and your brother are going to be okay."
"But my mom isn't moving. I think he killed her. I don't know what to do."
"Honey, trust me. I already sent someone to help them, okay?"
"Okay, trust you."
A dog starts barking. Gunshots are heard in the background, and the dog stops barking. "Meg, what's going on? Are you okay?"
"He grabbed his gun. He shot my dog."
"He has a gun?"
"You have to come quick, please. He's fighting with my brother. I can't ask..." "No, he's shooting again. He's shooting Todd. Please, he's going to kill my brother."
"Meg, I need you to stop screaming. Keep your voice down and hide."
"He's coming. I hear him coming up the stairs. Please, I don't want to die."
"Honey, you're going to be fine. But don't make any noise. Hide where you know he won't see you."
"I'm so scared."
In the background, a man's voice can be heard. He is angry. "Honey, where are you? I heard you. You're around here, aren't you? Daddy is not in the mood to play hide and seek. Come, I want to show you something. Your brother is hurt. I need you to help me take him to the hospital." "Meg, do not go out there. Stay hidden." At that moment, The call is almost silent, except for the girl's sobs, which she can't control. Suddenly, there is a loud bang on a piece of furniture, and the girl screams, "What are you doing under the bed?" Meg is still crying. "What are you doing with the phone in your hand? Who did you call?" "Didn't." The girl starts to cry louder. Someone picks up the phone. "Who is it?" "Sir, don't do anything to the girl. The police are on their way to the house and..." "Did you call the pigs?" "I was afraid." "Don't give me that bullshit. You're enjoying this. You're just like your mom." Megan begins to cry even harder. "You know what, Meg? Since we're telling each other things, I'm going to tell you the truth. You're an orphan. Do you know what your mummy did? She went out on the street with almost no clothes on." "The police lady told me it was going to be okay." "She told you that?" He picks up the phone. "How dare you lie to my little daughter?" "Please, don't hurt her." There are gunshots. Meg's crying suddenly stops. "Does that sound good to you?" This whole conversation is being recorded, and the police are on their way. "Do you know what? You should be put in jail." "What?" "You should have told her to run away. I couldn't have done anything. I was fighting with her asshole brother." "How could you be that stupid to tell her to hide?" I am in a state of desperation and insanity. I can't control my actions. I am furious. I was not to blame for what happened, but you do this for a living, and you just killed an innocent 12-year-old girl. How are you going to sleep knowing that?" At that moment, sirens are heard approaching. On the phone, a woman is crying. On the other end of the line, a shot is heard, and a body hits the ground. The call continues as several men are heard entering the room, and then it ends. David and Megan were found alive and in critical condition. The girl was rushed to the nearest hospital but did not survive the ambulance ride. David survived a gunshot wound to the head, which was apparently an attempt to commit suicide. After being treated in the hospital, he was sentenced to death for triple homicide. After several appeals, the sentence was served only 12 years later. A few days earlier, the man had taken his own life in his cell.
I'm so happy you want to play hide and seek with me. It's been a while since someone played with me. My mother is very strict on who I play with and where I play. When the game starts, these rules come active. Don't mess up unless you want to be one of those in the basement. Rules to play hide and seek with me. Rule 1. We may start the game in the main dining hall. If I am seeking, do not hide in the bathroom or the basement. No matter what, do not stray too far away from me. If something were to happen, I don't want to be unable to save you. Alternatively, if you are seeking, don't go into the basement. You may look for me in the bathroom. Rule 2. Pepper doesn't like attention. She may growl at you, but ignore her. She's just trying to lure and distract you. Refer to Rule 7 if you happen to look at her or accidentally sneak a glance. Rule 3. The dinner on the table is not for you. Father added something in it not fit for human consumption. If you let yourself give in and take a bite, don't stop. The more you eat, the quicker your death. Rule 4. If I am seeking and you choose to hide in the kitchen, make sure the back door is not open. If it is, come back to me so I can protect you. Mother has finished gardening and is on her way to make dessert. You must pray you get to me first before she gets to you. You do not want to become of them. Refer to Rule 7 if you get lost or if she becomes aware of your presence. Rule 5. Do not hide outside or look for me outside. Rule 6. If you see a white cat while seeking, you may let the white cat guide you. He is there to protect you and ensure you're safe throughout the game. If you see a white cat whilst hiding, immediately choose a different hiding spot and ensure he doesn't follow. He has chosen Father's side and is after making you one of them. If Father sees you but does not catch you, refer to Rule 7. Rule 7. If you do not correctly follow the rules listed, you shall leave the house. Do not return. No matter what I look like or how I act, I promise you that is not me. If you fail, we are all doomed. Rule 8. If you hide upstairs, check the painting in the east room. If there is a beautiful young lady with black hair and blood-red lips, it is safe. If the painting is of a man with a shrunken head, you are not safe. Immediately return downstairs and refer to Rule 7. Rule 9. If you ever feel sick, lightheaded, nauseous, excessively tired, short of breath, dry eyes, excessive yawning, signs of heart palpitations, or dry mouth, refer to Rule 7. Father put one of his special mixtures in the air shaft and is attempting to subdue you. Rule 10. If you hear the groaning underneath the floorboards, pretend you do not hear them. They are the basement beings and see you as a worthy target to join them. You do not want to be tomorrow's feast. That's all. I hope that you don't mind and still want to come to my house on Saturday. Bearing this job is kinda a burden because I get calls every day and sometimes it's just stressful. However, last week has been busy. There have been numerous UFO sightings here in Michigan and people have been saying weird things have been occurring, such as humanoids standing behind trees and just observing. I've always believed that these were just conspiracies started by madmen and probably even the government just to get people's mind off the government's response to the pandemic. At least that's what I thought until now. Now, whatever I'm about to tell you, it's gonna sound batshit crazy, but I swear that it's true. I was sitting on my chair relaxing to some chips because I didn't have time for dinner. Each bite of the chip made an echoing noise through the building as I slowly devour it, listening to the rain outside. Most of my colleagues had already left, and I was alone in the building. It was pretty dark outside, and the only thing that illuminated the surroundings was the bright moon and street poles. The day was less busy than usual, and I barely received any calls. I was finally at relief that all the shit that was going on in the town was over, until the phone began ringing. I quickly answered it, putting my chips down. 911, what is your emergency? Hi, I think there are some people robbing my neighbor's place. I just saw some people break open the door, and I think they're looting his place. Alright, sir, can you please tell me your address? Yeah, sure, of course. He proceeded to tell me his address calmly, despite the ongoing robbery next door. Thank you, sir. The police will arrive soon. Please stay on the line until then. Alright. Is your neighbor alright, or... Well, he's on vacation, so there's no one in the house. Alright, sir. Can you describe what the robbers are doing? Yeah, one sec. I listened closely to noise from his phone, but I couldn't make out anything apart from the occasional loud breathing of the caller. They're just walking around, I guess. Sort of seems like they're searching for something, but can't find it. Alright, sir. Try to stay low so they don't see you. Yeah. Wait. They're leaving the house. A few seconds passed by until I heard his voice again. There are 4 of them. Yeah, it's 4. Can you describe their appearance? One sec. Let me get closer. I heard the caller shuffle through his house, probably going to a nearby window with a better view. They took off. Sir, can you be a bit more descriptive than off? Well, I mean, they're tall. All of them are at least 6'8" or something. Alright, that's a start. What are they doing right now? My heart began to pound. How the fuck is someone 6'8"? I knew something was wrong from the way the situation sounded, but I tried to remain as calm as possible. They're saying something to each other. I can hear them murmuring, but I don't think they're talking in English. Alright, just try to keep an eye on them, and I think they're coming this way. They're coming towards my house. Sir, can you please check all your doors and windows, and please make sure they're locked? The adrenaline began to hit. What was I gonna do? I'm just sitting here trying to help this guy till the cops get there. Sir? He didn't respond. Sir, are you with? Yeah, I'm here. Are all your windows and doors closed? Can you confirm that there is no point of entry for the intruders? Yeah, everything's closed. I don't think they can get in. Alright, sir. Now I need you to listen to me. Yeah, I'm all ears. I could hear his voice trembling. He was scared shitless. Heck, who wouldn't be scared if the robbers were 6'8"? Sir, do you have any place in your house where you can hide? I guess my basement. Alright, sir. Please go to your basement as quiet as possible and don't let them see you. Give me a second. I could hear him moving as the floor made a couple of quiet creaks. I'm in. Alright, sir. Try to be as quiet as possible now. They might be... The sound of a loud crash pierced my ear. I knew something was wrong. The guy was in trouble. I couldn't even give him the assurance that the cops would come in time because the roads were all snowy. Sir, what was that? They're in. They broke into my house. I've been doing this job for 2 years and I've never had a call like this. Most of my calls were just normal day-to-day crap, except this. Sir, the police are on their way, and they should be at your house in 2 minutes. I just need you to... I think they're checking all the rooms. Sir, please stay where you are until the police arrive. Yeah, all right. Sir, is there any weapon near you? Wait, let me check. I heard him shuffle through the room, trying to make no noise. Yeah, there's a baseball bat. All right, sir. Please try to use that to keep yourself safe in case anything happens. Yeah, okay. A few seconds passed by without us talking. I sat on my chair biting my nails till I heard a sound. I'm sorry. Sir? I could hear him whispering. I'm probably the worst caller you had in a long time. It's like I shoved you into this situation. Sir, it's my job to do this. I know, but you probably would have been having a regular night if it wasn't for me. I paused for some time. He was telling the truth. I would have had a regular Friday. I probably would have gone home in a few minutes and binged at some Netflix. But this was who I am. I save people, and I was determined to save this guy. I looked at the screen in front of me, displaying the co-coordinates of the police and the caller's details. Brody, I promise you that you're going to be safe. I hope so. Thanks for all this. No problem, sir. He went silent for a while. I guess it was probably because the intruders were getting close to the basement. They're trying to open the door. This was it. I had no idea what to do anymore. Sir, please stay calm. Try to make no noise, and if they get close to you, just... I heard a huge thud from the caller. They got in. I looked at the co-coordinates of the police car. It was at the end of the street. Sir, please protect yourself with the bat. Shit, they're looking through the whole basement. They're gonna come my way. Sir, hold on for a couple seconds. The cops are on their... Sir? Their feet ain't touching the ground. My heart dropped. I began imagining a ghost just floating around in the basement, but my caller had to be exaggerating. Sir, just please hang on for a... They're coming towards me. He began screaming, and I could hear footsteps approaching him. What's wrong with their faces? Everything's pale. Sir, please calm down. I need you to stay... They are not human. The line was cut. The police arrived at his house a couple seconds later, but there was no sign of him. However, they did find a circle shape imprinted in the lawn of the neighbor's house. My caller has been placed on the missing list, but no one has come spotted him yet. He's pretty much deemed dead. People think the robbers killed him and hid his body. But I know what happened that night. Those things took him.